that's the wrong one. No audio. That's the right one. My microphone was not on. Shabbat Shalom and welcome. Thank you for joining us. Even though we can't be together in this physical space, at least we can be together virtually. We're going to begin tonight with the words of Psalm 96 as we sing Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash. Sing unto God a new song. We hope you'll join us. Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz. Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash. Shiru
In just a few moments in our service, we're going to come to the prayer Tov Lahodot, and we are going to ask for any moments of gratitude that you'd like to share with us. And so if there is something wonderful, amazing, or just something that happened that you're grateful for this week, we ask you to be with us here and write to us in the chat box so that we can share it with everyone.
We're going to continue with the words of Lechadodi as we welcome the Sabbath bride.
Lechadodi likrat kala, Shabbat mekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, Shabbat mekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, Shabbat mekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, Shabbat mekabela.
Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad, Imianu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shem ultiferet v'litfila. Lechadodi, Lechadodi, Lechadodi likrat kala, Shabbat mekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, Shabbat mekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekabela. for the last verse of L'Chadodi. It's traditional for us to rise, and so if you're comfortable wherever you are, I invite you to rise and face the entrance to that room, the entrance to your house, the entrance to whatever space that you're in, as we welcome Shabbat into our lives. Shabbat nikabela. If you are still standing, you may be seated. It feels very strange to tell you to sit down in your own homes, but if you are still standing, it's okay to sit down. We're going to continue with the words of Psalm 92, a song for the Sabbath day where it says, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, that it's good to give thanks to God. So we're going to begin by singing it, and then hopefully in a second, I will get all of the message. There the messages started. All right, I'm getting all of the gratitude messages.
We love gratitude messages.
We love gratitude messages. So we sing Tov lehodot l'Adonai, it's good to give thanks to God. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, u'lesameh l'shimcha. Oh, yes, that is political and also not political. Fran is thankful that the county commission passed the mask requirement to help keep us all safer. David Friedman's grandson Leo graduates from UMass in architecture.
Awesome.
Carol Levine is grateful for our virtual services. We are also grateful for them and that you are watching. And Deb Huffman is grateful for the health of her family. If any more of you wrote in and we haven't gotten the messages yet, I hope that all of you will look in the chat box if it's not too distracting for you, and just take a look at some of the things that everyone else is grateful for. Sometimes seeing what the people around us are grateful for helps us to, in fact, become grateful ourselves. So we sing Tov lehodot l'Adonai, it's good to give thanks to God. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, u'lesameh l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, u'lesameh l'shimcha elyon. So in a second, we're going to join together in the words of Shalom Aleichem. But before we do, Rabbi Alon is not here. But he sends a Shabbat Shalom to all of you watching at home. He is celebrating Yoni's birthday, which is today. And so he took the night off so that he could celebrate Shabbat with them at home and so that they could do lots of birthday-ish type things. So we miss him, but also we're glad that he can celebrate with his family this Shabbat. Would you like to explain Shalom Aleichem?
We're going to try a melody I've tried before and I happen to really love. And in this last Shabbat of June, I thought it might be nice to bring it back again. And so we'll start with some Lai Lai Lies. The words fit right into the Lai Lai Lies, so I hope you're singing with us.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharim, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Malachim, HaKadosh Baruch Moachem Lishalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei So we're going to continue by kindling the candles, by kindling the lights of Shabbat. If you want, and you have some candlesticks at home, please light them with us now, and then we can join together in the blessing.
I honor the gift of stillness and rest, a day devoted to peace. Peace within my soul. On this day, I have everything I need. Peace with those around me. On this day, I seek no quarrel or strife. Peace of earth and sky, green trees and quiet water. I give thanks that I am present in this world. I celebrate the miracle of existence, the breath within me, the beating of my heart, and the love that blesses my life.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. So before we continue with the words of the Baruch Hu, the call to worship, the call to community, I'm going to ask that if you have names of loved ones or friends or relations or whoever it might be, that you'd like to share the name so that we can all pray together for their healing in a little bit. Please share their names in the chat box now. It doesn't matter where you're watching from, whether it's live stream or Facebook or YouTube. We will get all the names. So before we continue with the words of the Baruch Hu, I'd like to invite you, since you can't turn to the right and to the left and wish a Shabbat Shalom to the people around you, you can at least, into the chat box, say Shabbat Shalom, and you can wish The other people watching, hey, Shabbat Shalom. Tell them who you are. Tell them where you are. Tell them one thing that you're grateful for this week. We'll give it just 1 second and then we'll continue with the Baruch Hu. And as is traditional, if you are comfortable and able and willing, we rise for the Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
You may be seated if you're still standing. We're going to continue with the words of Ahavat Olam, the prayer that comes before the Shema, the prayer that speaks about love, God's eternal love for us. Let's read together in the English. Love beyond all space and time. Your love enfolds your people Israel.
We receive
Thank
it
you
in your teachings, your gift of Torah, sacred obligations, discipline and law.
So let us speak these teachings when we lie down
and rise up,
and find joy forever in your Torah and mitzvot.
They are the essence of our life, ours to ponder and study all our days. May we never lose or be unworthy of your love.
כי הם חיינו ויורך ימינו ובהם נגד יומם הלילה
כי הם חיינו לאורך ימינו ובהם נגד יומם ולילה.
And before we say the words of the Shema, let's just take a moment to be present. And we can do that just by taking a few deep breaths. And if you're comfortable, you can close your eyes for a moment. Sit up maybe a little bit straighter and allow all of that air to flow a little bit easier. And let's just take a moment to breathe. Breathe in everything that you need right now. And let go of everything that you don't. Just take a moment to listen. Let's say the words of the Shema.
eyes are not already open, you can slowly open your eyes. So this week I went and I read the Parshat Shabbat, the weekly Torah portion, as I do most weeks. And this particular week is special for two reasons. The first is, it is one of my favorite Torah portions. It's a little ironic that every time I get up and speak, that it's one of my favorite Torah portions. They're not all my favorites, I promise. So the second thing that is kind of special about it is that for whatever reason, Rabbi Alon is almost always gone when this Torah portion comes up. And I don't know why. It doesn't follow the calendar. It doesn't follow, whatever reason, he's not here. And so every year I get to tell this story, which is one of my personal favorites in the entire Bible. And the story is really about a guy. His name is Korach, and he and some of his friends, they decide that they want to confront the people who are in power. Now, the people who are in power are Moses and Aaron, and what would end up becoming the rest of the priestly class. But another individual who is in power is God. Now, there are two traditional ways to read this story. Probably the foremost is that in a story where you have a good side and a bad side, if you have the good guys, then you also must have the villains. And so one way of reading this story is that Korach and his band of merry political revisionists, what's the good word for it? They really wanted to change what was established, what was there, and they really wanted to understand why the status quo was the status quo. And it's not a commentary on today, although many of my colleagues across the country, as we go into Shabbat, are most likely giving sermons tonight. They're giving very pointed sermons, which talk about power and talk about speaking truth to power. And as I was in conversation with a number of my colleagues, I realized several things. The first is that my capacity to always have so much seriousness is exhausting. And there are limits to how much serious you can have in your life at one time. And if you don't believe me, my guess is that many of you are experiencing it now, where everything, regardless of whether it sounds like a joke or not, is serious, right? It may not be life or death serious, but everything has now become that important. It's raised to the level that we have to take all of the things seriously. And I realized this week that my capacity for that is just about done. So the other thing that I realized is that I did not want to make a grand speech. I did not want to make a grand sermon where I talked about speaking truth to power and rereading this story in a different light. The other way of reading this story is that it is in fact not Korach and his friends, his followers, who were the bad guys in the story. One interpretation is that the bad guy in the story is in fact God. And another lesser known and lesser followed tradition is that it is in fact Moses who is the bad guy. Now, the reason that this is my favorite or one of my favorite stories in the Bible is because the end of it, the way that God cleans up the mess of having a group of people try and confront the power system that is in place is to have the ground open up and swallow them all. And I always kind of love that image, because in an argument, how do you beat that? How do you beat the ground is going to swallow you up? And I started to play a game with myself. Now, I don't know that it's a good game. It's a game, all right? We're gonna pretend for a moment that some of the things that happen in the Old Testament, some of the things that happen in the Torah, are not things that necessarily happen today, right? The immanence of God, the presence of God in our lives does not look the same way that it did for the ancient Israelites, or for Abraham, or Isaac and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. Their interaction with God was incredibly different than the way that we interact with God today and that we see God in the world. But so I started to play this game with myself. I said, first of all, what if the trump card was always, at the end of whatever the game was, the ground could open up and swallow you if you did not necessarily go along the right path. And I said, okay, that's an interesting idea. So I started the exercise by looking at what was going on around us. Now, part of things becoming serious is where almost any topic can become political. And I'm going to say this from the beginning. At 8:23 this evening, we can go back to partisan politics if you so choose. For this particular moment, I'm going to say that there is no political anything in what I'm about to say. You're looking at the prospect of making a major change. You're looking at the prospect of being able to organize marches and protests on a grand scale across the country. And many people in many, many cities across this country get together and they march and they protest and they speak out as a means of trying to bring about change. Now, at some point, you're presented with a choice. We're going to do this choose your own adventure style. You're presented with a choice. You can either continue on one direction. You're continuing, and in that direction, you ignore everything else around you, and the only thing that is important is the message and making sure that that message gets through in a way that is the most effective. The other direction is that you can follow the group of people who decided that that is important, but also they would like things. The example that came to mind was there were protests and marches in West Palm. One of the big stories was that a group of people broke into a T-Mobile store to steal cell phones. Now, did everyone break into the T-Mobile store? No. Did the fact that someone and a group of people did that take away from the power of the protest and the march itself? It did, because it ate up news cycles, right? And so the question is, which choice do you make? Are you one of the people who get an iPhone home only to realize that Apple tells you that the phone is being tracked and you need to return it to the T-Mobile location? Or are you one of the people who marched and protested and the following day see that all of that work ended up with a news story about people breaking into a cell phone store? Now, the game goes like this. Regardless of which direction you choose, and you have to choose for yourself, which direction leads you to a place where the ground does not open up and swallow you. Now, you can say that my overactive imagination needed to entertain itself a little bit, and I admit that may be part of it. But it's also an interesting exercise. I did it also with masks, right? Forget everything else about masks. The county of Palm Beach has decreed that we all must wear masks outside, right? And for many people, that is a relief. For other people still, it is not a relief. Why? Because besides not wanting to be told what to do, wearing the mask is incredibly annoying. Anyone who wears eyeglasses like I do knows that every 7 or so seconds, I take a breath and my glasses fog up. And so I have to walk around the entire time constantly cleaning off my glasses so that I don't bump into walls, which is funny, but also terrible. So you have the choice. You're told that if you wear a mask, it can prevent you from getting an illness. It can prevent the people around you from contracting an illness that may or may not be something that you are carrying within your body and don't even know it. You have to make the choice. Do you choose to wear the mask or do you choose not to? There is no judgment, and you can absolutely say that in one direction, all of those people, the ground may swallow them up. It's kind of fun. So why do I use these examples? So we would assume that everything is very black and white, but protesting on one side and looting on the other, that's an interesting choice. It's not a choice that most of us make on a daily basis, and it's not necessarily a choice that we would know what we would do until we were presented with it in that specific situation. With the masks, for many of us, we feel as though we're healthy. You go to the doctor tells you you need to exercise if you want to remain healthy at the level that you are now. You can choose to say, no, I don't like to exercise. It's very warm outside. You can also choose to say, all right. The same goes for every decision that we make. I chose things out of the newspaper mostly because it is what is on my mind and what is on everyone's mind right now because of how bombarded we are with the news. At the end of the day, regardless of what decision you made, did you land in a place where the ground swallows you up? And the reason that little piece of the game is important is because for most people reading this week's Parsha, this week's Torah portion, Korach is the bad guy. You can say that the people who made whatever choice they made can be the good guy or the bad guy in this story, or you can remove the idea of good and bad from it. But sometimes the way that we see the actions around us, both those that we do ourselves and those that we see our friends and our family and our community and people across the world and across the country doing, we like to place judgments on them, which means that in any particular instance, any particular scenario, we can be the heroes or the villains, and we can make anyone the hero or the villain. And it's not always so cut and dry. And so what I would say is that as we go into this coming week, to try not to place value judgments on the things that the people around us do. We don't have to agree with them. We can say there are too many cases in Palm Beach County. There are too many cases in the state of Florida, and something has to be done. You can also say it is a person's choice and a person's right to make the decision that they want. Even if that means that they get fined, we place value judgments on everything and everyone around us. And if seriousness has an expiration date because it is just too exhausting to remain serious all the time, then constantly going through the world, choosing who is good and who is bad, is also exhausting. Because then it makes it an us and them conversation. It wasn't the Israelites and Moses and Aaron and God versus. They were all one people until a choice was made and until something happened. And that something happened is maybe in this story, Korach is the hero because he brings to light something that needed to be said. We don't have to agree with it. You don't have to agree with the fact that maybe speaking truth to power, when the power in this case is God, may not end well for you. But on a daily basis, as we walk through life, especially now in these trying times, our friends and our family and our neighbors and our community, we all have more in common than we do not. And rather than vilify or create heroes out of every decision, maybe we just see people for people and see if that gives us a chance to breathe. Shabbat Shalom. If you're able, I invite us all to rise for the Amidah, the great standing prayer.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanurah El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim Vekonei Hakol Vezocher Chasdei Avot Ve'imahot Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magin Baruch atah Adonai Magin Avraham Be'ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayeh HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia Morid Hatah Mechalkel Chaim V'Chesed Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim Zomer Noflim Verofei Cholim Umatir Azurim Mekayem Emunato Mishenei Afar Michamocha Bagevurot
We're going to take just a moment for personal prayer. If you are standing and wish to remain standing, you may do so if that's your tradition. If not, you may be seated. We'll continue in just a moment.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu leshalom, ve'ha'amidenu shomreinu lechaim, ufroz aleinu sukat shlomecha.
Ashkivenu
Adonai,
Ashkivenu
Shalom.
Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Ashkivenu leshalom. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storm. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storm. We continue with the words of the Misha Berach. As our thoughts turn to those in our community, our friends, our family, who are in need of healing. Misha Berach, Avotenu b'imotenu Abraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah, hu yivarech v'yirapeh et acholim. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. Bless those in need of healing, refuat ha-nefesh, refuat ha-guf, refuat shlema, a healing of body, a healing of spirit, a whole and complete healing. We say amen. In addition to the names that you see on the screen before you, our thoughts tonight think of Be'eleno Johan Mustonen, Andre Barusa, Amy Russell, Lee Sims, Nancy Drexler, Basha Stein, Teresa Navis, Aaron Rappaport, Lauren Cooperstein, Kordek, Bonnie Goodharts. If you have a name that we didn't mention or wasn't on the screen tonight, you can just put their name in the chat box. Even though I may not read it, we're still praying for their healing. Let's join together in the words, Misha Berach. Misha Berach, Apote We begin to conclude our service with the words of Aleinu. If you are able and willing to rise one last time. All you have to do is repeat after Marcy. If we were together in one place, in one space, right now, one of us would have asked those of you who are observing a yahrzeit, a commemoration that a loved one or someone that you're thinking of who was close to you has died at this season in years past, or was taken from you and this community or their community in the last 30 days. The act of standing is not for the words of the Kaddish Tome. The act of standing is that so that you can be identified as someone who may need consolation. It's very hard for us to console each other and recognize the people who are in need of a little bit of extra kindness when we aren't together in the same space. On the occasion of Yahrzeit, we remember Shirley Katz, sister-in-law of Myrna, Rose Circus, grandmother of Myrna, Florence Black, mother of Myrna, Victor Black, father of Myrna, Harry Tabris, father of Helen, Elliot Cowan, husband of Dolores, Dorothy Koch, mother of Karen, Seymour Fox, husband of Sandra Fox, Grace Goldber, mother of Richard Goldber, Arnold Goldber, father of Richard, David Goldberg, father of Sandy, Milton Gray, uncle of David, Fred Mendelson, father of Esther and grandfather of Herbert and Cindy, Chris, Eileen, and Deborah, and great-grandfather of Tamara, Matthew, Casey, Jacqueline, and Michelle. Charlotte Provis, mother of Jan, Esther Deegan, grandmother of Jennifer, Sarita Levin, sister of Howie, Irving Rose, father of Louise, Herman Jaffe, father of Iva and grandfather of Marcy, Harold Prigoff, father-in-law of Marion, Sylvia Rosman, mother of Jerry, Mark James Rothmill, son of Ken, William Berger, grandfather of Amy, Sally Sandquist, mother of Peter, Pauline Wildenberg, mother of Tina, Thomas Chase, brother-in-law of Barbara, Peter Smith, husband of Joe, Morris Birnbaum, father of Patricia Stark, Kenneth Gordon, brother of Ruth, taken from their loved ones in the last 30 days during the period of Shloshim. We remember Myrna Friedman, mother of Melanie, Alex Tabenkin, friend of Lois and Richard. We also remember Marcella Debs, mother of Howard, Rhoda Bell, mother of Robin, Dolores Circus Stein, mother of Rhonda, Paula and Jeff, and Jack Weber, grandfather of Jeff Weber. The names we also would like to mention that you've sent in to us through the chat: Lloyd Harris, Judy Koch, Seymour, Ian Fox, Murray Glass, Manny Glass, Fred Samuels. We're going to join together in the words of the Kadisha Tome, the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah. Be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. Bagala v'zman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei. V'yithadar v'yithalev v'yithalal Shemei d'Kudusha b'richu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechemata. Damiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru. Amen. If you would like to join us for the words of the Kiddush, and you have a glass of wine at home with you, or an all-inclusive glass of just about, if the motzi can work, I think the Kiddush. Let's join together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron ma'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemidraei kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim kivanu v'chata
Yotanu nidashta mikol ha'abim v'shabbat
kodshecha
be'ahava uratzon inchaltanu.
Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
Amen. L'chaim. And if you have anything to eat, and then you waited for us to finish services before you had dinner, just grab that piece of food as we join together and sing. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
We give thanks to God for bread.
Thanks, God.
Our
voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
Amen. And B'tei Avon, if you haven't eaten yet, B'tei Avon, if you're going to have a second helping of something or a dessert or something.
Oneg time.
Yes. Unfortunately, we have to have oneg at home, but it's okay. Hopefully all of you have something delicious. We're going to conclude tonight with the words of Oseh Shalom. May the one who makes peace in the high places make peace over us, over all the world. And let us all say Amen. Oseh Shalom Imrama. Oyaseh Shalom Aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol Yoshvei Tevel. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for joining us tonight. We hope to see you again next week. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.